As any library and information professional knows, the information landscape has changed dramatically over the last 10 or so years. The internet has stimulated the creation of and provided access to a wealth of new information resources for users to utilise in their research. Search engines, such as Google, have made navigating the internet and finding relevant information an easy task, or at least that is the impression many end users have. This video examines some of the issues faced by library and information professionals in terms of educating their users on how to get the most from the internet as a source of information. The focus is on academic libraries and the ways in which they help students, but the lessons learned and examples given have a broader relevance for all providers of library and information services.
A lot of students have a very kind of one-dimensional approach to kind of getting information off the internet. So, there's a little search box and they will search that box, and then whatever comes back at them, they generally tend to use.
They just want to get the answer as quickly as possible. And one of the problems with search engines like Google is they can present the image of being a quick and easy solution. But in the legal information field, actually much information is only available from subscription resources.
I think we have to accept that Google's here to stay and very much work with their interest in Google. And I think it's up to us to point out how and why other things might be better starting points for them.
Information literacy is one of those difficult terms because everybody thinks it's a good thing and everybody thinks somebody else should be addressing it head on.
I would firstly start off by looking at notes handed out from lessons, and then I'd refer to a reading list given out from our course.
I tend to look at books, go to a library, maybe look at notes from lectures, and I also look on the internet like Wikipedia and places like that, really.
I think the first year people don't even use Google, they use Wikipedia, and then lecturers start saying, no, you can't use Wikipedia, you've got to move away from Wikipedia. So as a student, you tend to go, I'll still look on Wikipedia, and then you look at the bottom, you ignore what's in the piece of paper or the page, and at the end they'll have links. So if you're looking on a certain website, you can look on those links, and quite often the links are legitimate.
I know that you can't trust internet sites, you don't know where it's come from, anyone could have put it on there, so I don't really trust anything online.
So we've seen a range of views from our students about the resources they use when completing their assignments. These range from using popular tools such as Google and Wikipedia to a general distrust of all online resources. How can library and information professionals help students steer a course through the vast range of information services and websites and educate them about some of the dangers of relying on the public web pages pointed to by search engines rather than the structured databases offered by most academic libraries? A start might be to let students know how vast the web is and the challenges this poses for anyone looking for those needles of information in the digital haystack. Although it is impossible to measure exactly how large the web is, estimates have calculated that at the end of 2007 there were over 150 million websites comprising over 40 billion pages. It has also been suggested that in several days Google handles more search queries than the total received by the world's libraries in a year. However, search engines such as Google are not able to index the entire web, with the so-called deep web being inaccessible to search engines because it includes subscription databases that are protected by password access. A good way to illustrate some of the problems of using Google as a primary search tool, as well as the advantages of using more structured, subscription-based databases, is given in the following example. If you were researching the tourism industry in France and typed the terms tourism and France into Google, you might retrieve about 1.5 million items, most of which refer to commercial information about travelling to and staying in France. On the other hand, if you were to use a source that has been evaluated by library staff, purchased on subscription, and is provided by an authoritative and reliable information provider, your results would be very different. You might retrieve just over 1,500 results, and could easily narrow this down by searching on different fields in the database. For example, by selecting the type of publication or by using the subject indexes, you would ensure that the results were much more relevant to your needs. So we've seen some reasons why it is important for information users to understand the limitations of certain web resources and the advantages of others. Developing and delivering training programs is becoming an increasingly important role for library and information professionals. Planning and delivering such training is not a trivial task, and the following are some tips from educators in how to do this. It's best to plan as far in advance as possible. In an academic environment, this might mean linking the session with a student assignment. Find out if there will be anyone in the audience with a disability so that you can prepare handouts to suit their needs, make space for a wheelchair, or get ready to be recorded. Check any equipment for faults and arrange the furniture appropriately. Cafe style works well. Prepare some sample searches that work successfully on the online resources you will be demonstrating. In addition, you might like to ask the participants to suggest some. So, having planned the session, how might you deliver it? Don't start off with the most important information, just in case people arrive late. Make sure that everyone can hear, and don't be tempted to talk to the projection screen. Include a range of learning activities to appeal to people's different styles. When demonstrating online resources, limit the number, but focus on the techniques that are transferable between them. Include hands-on practice of the online resources, if possible. Allow time for participants to ask questions throughout, and make sure everyone hears them. Try the use of gapped handouts to engage the participants, and provide something for them to take away from the session. Finally, don't forget to provide an evaluation form to help you in future planning.
If you understand the source of the information, the bias of the information, where that information comes from, the validity of that information, I think all information is useful. But I get the feeling that students often are tempted to kind of go for that ready meal option.
What I do is I go into the library catalogue here at UWE and I do a keyword search, and that pulls up typically, say, 1,000 titles, which is still a bit daunting, but it's a manageable number. Then I go onto Google and it pulls up 20 million. And I say, you know, anything of use might actually be on page 367 of this list, or, you know, whatever, or you're never going to get to the end of this list.
At level 1, I have a session which covers about 900 students, and the students are just about to work on a particular essay. It's one of their first essays that they'll have done in their studies here, and the lecturer talks to them about what the essay should look like, you know, what format it should be, and I talk to them about how they do the research that needs to be part of that essay.
With science, definitely the best place not to go to get that information is Google or those wide search engines. You know, that's not the place to go, because science has a process, and it's usually a peer-reviewed process, and the science process itself. So understanding where to access information which has gone through a process, which then can qualify its bias and qualify its status and validity, I think is really important.
There's a number of academics who would give this very loud message now: Wikipedia is not an acceptable source to be referencing at the end of assignments at any level. And I think a lot of students are doing this, and this has led to a lot of academic colleagues being very firm that Wikipedia shouldn't be being cited as a reputable source of information.
We've increasingly moved away from saying you've got to come to the library or information service to find what you need. We understand that you're busy, that you've got a lot of pressure, and what you really want to do is sit at your PC and find the information yourself. And from that, we've actually taken a leaf from Google. We've understood where Google has got things right, where the search engines, Yahoo as well, have got things right, and said, yes, we're going to put this on at your fingertips, on the desktop, available to you to use, even though the information service purchases it, pays maybe very large subscription fees to make that information available. The information professional is key to actually providing that service, making it accessible, making sure it functions properly, and to train people on how to use it.